Erev Shalom Aleichem. Everybody, Erev Shalom Aleichem. Erev Shalom, Shalom, Shalom.
Shana Tova. Here we go again. All right, please silence your phones. Ooh. And as you know, here comes that. As you exit, you're going to turn to the left. No. You're going to turn to the right. Shana Tova, the year 5784.
Already.
I got it right.
It's the 80s again.
Shana Tova. First, I'm here to introduce you to John Nafla, your temple treasurer, my partner of about 9.5 years, and a good egg, as that phrase is, especially meaningful because he's a down-to-earth person with core humanist values, and thus a good egg, as they say. And he is in the egg business. If you want to learn about his egg business, ask him about it. You'll have an interesting conversation about something you probably never even thought about. John is in his 3rd year of temple membership and has hit the floor running. And when I asked him if he would consider running in the hotly contested race for treasurer, John said yes without hesitation. On June 20th, election and inauguration day, John claimed victory. Actually, the other candidates bowed out, or maybe there weren't any, but he was unanimously elected. And so here's John.
Thank you, Elaine. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm here to introduce you to Elaine Fieldman, your temple president. Early in our relationship, Iris, who's Elaine's surrogate mother, like 6 months into it, called me aside and said, "John, be very careful. She'll change you." And after it was all done and said, she has. I started eating natural peanut butter, and then I found myself on 12 Mile Road at some sort of Jewish temple, listening to messages at services. Before that, my entire Jewish knowledge came from what I learned watching the Seinfeld show. And I mean that, seriously. Anyhow, I enjoyed the services, especially the rabbi's talks, which resonated with my own values. Soon I started becoming a humanistic Jew. The deal was sealed with Elaine's Passover lemon roll, which is now my official birthday cake. Passover in June. Or as I always say, lemon roll is a 12-month dessert. And as a humanist Jew, I don't follow any dietary laws. So when Elaine asked me to be treasurer, how could I say no?
Well, John, we are also here for the official high holiday. Please dig deep for a temple cause ask. The board has heard from members who have concerns and questions about security. This is unfortunately on many minds. The board has been listening. First, we've been considering a panel discussion or a presentation to the membership on awareness and actions to take in case of a concern or an emergency. This is in the works, and more to come on that in the future. More to the point, we are taking action now and installing an up-to-date security system, including cameras, various detection systems, and monitoring. To fund this project, we have received a $30,000 match donation. That means every dollar you donate instantly becomes $2 for the temple security. If the full match is raised, it would be a total of $60,000. $30,000 from member high holiday donations and $30,000 from the match. These funds will be used for the security system. If we are so fortunate to have extra funds, those funds will go toward improving the sound system. This is a double whammy, win-win, dual purpose, dual source, dual speakers asking. Please improve the security of the temple. What? You can't hear me? You can't hear me? I can't hear you. Improve the sound system and make a generous donation. Like last year, I'll be in the back collecting your donations after the services, wishing you a happy and healthy new year and collecting those donations. Or you can send them in later, check, credit card, cash, whatever. Lashana Tova, and enjoy the service.
So Happy New Year, and as Jerry Seinfeld would say, where's the lemon roll? Thank you.
Shana Tova. I see this is eye makeup for the sound system. My normal speaking voice is much, much quieter, but I learned in 10 years that if you wanted to hear me, I better shout at you. It is also Shabbat, so I'm going to wish you Shabbat Shalom. I want to welcome you all, our second in-person service since this bleepity bleep thing started to come to us, which Arthur and I were privileged to recently meet in person. But I am now well, and so I'm here with you tonight, but I do want to keep my distance, just in case, if you go home. No, I'm kidding. Got all the clearances necessary, and I'm so happy to be with many of our new musicians, whom I'll introduce to you later, and to tell you about a few things coming up, because as you may know, this month of Tishrei, the Hebrew month in which we celebrate Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, is also the month in which we celebrate Sukkot. And if we were more traditional, probably Simchat Torah, but not so much for us. But that means that on October 29th, right out there, we're going to have our beautiful sukkah and a potluck dinner at 6 o'clock. So the celebration goes on. We'll be talking about some social justice interests as well, issue of homelessness and so forth that are traditionally part of the celebration. So I hope you'll join us then. And if you know families with kids, we are kicking off our Spinoza, what has now become our family education program, no longer Sunday school, but a weekly opportunity for our entire families and their children to learn together. Kicking it off this Sunday at 10 a.m. There's no tuition. And you know our membership pledges are voluntary. So there's no excuse for anybody seeking a humanistic Jewish education to not come and join us. So if you know anybody like that, let them know. They don't need reservations. They can just show up. We'll get them signed up, and in 13 years, celebrate their bar mitzvahs. All right. Our readers tonight are Beth DeZoden Fuchs, Natan Fuchs, Tom Fleischer, Rabbi Miriam Jarris, Mary Monahan, Elaine Fieldman, Susie Friedman, and Lonnie Fleischer. And we begin on page 1. We gather tonight to reflect on the year that has passed, to consider our responsibilities to ourselves and to society, and to renew ourselves and our community. Our presence here tonight affirms our connection to Jewish heritage, whether acquired through birth, choice, or association. We gather to share with family, friends, and community the significance of this day, the first day of the Hebrew month Tishrei, the beginning of the New Year festival season. With the setting of this evening's sun, united with Jews of every place and time, we proclaim a new year of hope. May these holiday lights we're about to kindle inspire us to reflect upon the light in our lives and the warmth we find in the company of loved ones and community. I'd like to invite at this time, once again, Elaine and John, who will light our Shabbat and holiday candles.
Baruch the stars are hidden, and the moon is dark tonight. In the wide expanse of heaven, north to south, not a ray of light. Light a bright candle in my heart's shadowed tent, and through the wide expanse of sky, the light will shine. Where there is sadness, let us offer love. Where there is fear, let us reach for hope. On this eve of the new year, may we bring light to one another.
Let us light these lights and see our way to joy, and let us say Simcha. Let us light these lights and see our way to joy, and let us say Simcha. Let us light these lights and see our way to love, and let us say Ahava. Let us light these lights and see our way to love, and let us say Ahava. Let us light these lights and see our way to peace, and let us say Shalom. Let us light these lights and see our way to peace, and let us say Shalom.
Shana Tova. Now is the time for turning. The leaves are beginning to turn from green to red to orange. The birds are beginning to turn and are heading once more toward the south. The animals are beginning to turn to store their food for the winter. For leaves, birds, and animals, turning comes instinctively. But for us, turning does not come so simply. It means breaking with old habits. It means admitting that we've been wrong. And this is never easy. It means losing faith. It means starting all over again. And this is always painful. It means saying, I'm sorry. It means admitting that we have the ability to change. And this is a difficult thing to do. These things are terribly hard to do. But unless we turn, we will be trapped in yesterday's past. Let us return from callousness to sensitivity, from hostility to love, from pettiness to purpose, from envy to contentment, from carelessness to discipline. Let us turn around, let us face ourselves, let us face each other. For in isolation there is no life, but in community and companionship there is love and joy and forgiveness.
Thank you.
Shana Tova. On Rosh Hashanah, we sit in judgment of ourselves. Before the tribunal of reason and honesty, the roster of our deeds stand exposed. The reality of our daily lives meets the sharp scrutiny of our ideals. We want to be so much more than we are. We want to be wiser, kinder, and more confident in the act of living. We want to seize the world energetically and turn it into some urgent purpose. The valleys of dullness in which we wander threaten the meaningfulness of our lives, and we ache to ascend the peaks of excitement. Time passes far too quickly, and the boredom of our routine is the terrifying symptom of wasted opportunity. We half live and fear the future. Each of us is capable of an unimagined greatness. Each of us is a treasure house of vital potential. Yet we allow hesitation and anxiety to inhibit the expression of our being. Past failure and present fear restrict the range of our feeling and thinking. While this day of meditation awakens us to the truth of who we are, it must also quicken within us the reality of what we can be.
חייבים אנחנו, חייבים אנחנו, חייבים אנחנו, לטהר ליבנו, כי יש בנו מעשים. We look for the right thing to do. We look for the right thing to do. The right thing to do is to love one another. That is the right thing to do.
A reading from Numbers. Uvachodesh hashvi'i, be'echad lachodesh, mikra kodesh yihye lachem, kol melechet avodah lo ta'asu, yom truah yihye lachem. In the 7th month, on the first day of the month, there shall be an assembly, a cessation from work, a day of sounding the shofar.
תיקחו בחודש שופר, הכסר יום חגנו, יום תרועה יהיה לכם.
For untold generations, at this time, our ancestors listened to the sound of the shofar. What did they hear in its piercing tones? What solemn truths did they detect in its calls, which stirred them so profoundly each year? And what does the shofar say to us today as we stand at the dawn of the new year, groping for wisdom and beliefs to sustain us? Tekiah, awake, let not habit dull your minds, nor comfort harden your hearts. Examine your deeds, look well into your lives, mend your ways. As we hear the sharp Tekiah blast, let us rouse ourselves from smugness and self-satisfaction, from callousness and self-righteousness. Shvarim, the broken refrain. Listen to the staccato cry. Hear the echoes of sighing and weeping. The deprived and the distressed, the neglected and the enslaved, the bruised and the broken, all cry out for relief from their pain, for release from their torment. As we hear the anguished wail of Shvarim, let us open our ears to the cries of the afflicted and the oppressed, and let our hearts respond with compassion and love. Teruah, the call to battle is sounded. Join the struggle against evil and suffering. Give of your bread to those who hunger. Give of your strength to those who stumble. Give of your time to the lonely and forsaken. Heal the wounded, comfort the bereaved. Let us hearken to the Teruah's call to action. For in our hands, in our hearts, and in our minds are the means for building a better world, for fulfilling the promise of peace and justice, and for hastening a day when these shall prevail throughout the end.
I'd like to call now upon Felicia Goldberg, who will sound for us the shofar. Whichever you prefer. Tekiah. Shvarim. Teruah. Tekiah Dolah. Yeshakar, thank you.
תיקחו בשופר, השמיעו אמת, השמיעו בינה.
Head of the year. The moon is dark tonight, a new moon for a new year. It is hollow and hungers to be full. It is the black zero of beginning. Now you must void yourself of injuries, insults, incursions. Go with empty hands to those you have hurt and make amends. It is not too late. It is early and about to grow. Now is the time to do what you know you must and have feared to begin. Your face is dark too, as you turn inward to face yourself, the hidden twin of all you must grow to be. Forgive the dead year. Forgive yourself. What will be wants to push through your fingers. The light you seek hides in your belly. The light you crave longs to stream from your eyes. You are the moon that will wax in new goodness.
בשנה הבאה נשב על מרפסת ונספור ציפורים נודדות. ילדים בחופשה ישחקו תופסת בין הבית לבין השדות. או תראה כמה טוב יהיה בשנה הבאה. או תראה כמה יתגלה בשנה הבאה. Soon the day will arrive when we will be together, and no longer will we live in fear. And the children will smile without them wondering whether on that day the new clouds will appear. Wait and see what the world it will be if we share, if we care, you and me. Wait and see what the world it will be if we share, if we care, you and me. בשנה הבאה. תראה כמה טוב יהיה בשנה הבאה.
In the twilight of the vanishing year, our hearts are filled with a sense of gratitude. They're stirred by the memory of joy. The new year begins. We were sustained by love and kindness, comforted in times of sorrow, found happiness in our homes, and gladness with our friends. As the new year begins, we join in a happy song. But there were dreams that came to naught, and times when we refused to dream. These too we now remember as the new year begins. As the new year begins, contrition fills our thoughts. Some of our days were dark with grief. Many a tear furrowed our cheeks. Alas, for the tender ties that were broken. We look back with sorrow as the new year begins. As the new year begins, tears well up within us. Yet we look ahead with hope, grateful for this time of renewal, for the possibility of good to come. Let this Rosh Hashanah celebration of life be our day of renewal into life and peace, serenity and safety as the new year begins. As the new year begins, so is the hope born in us.
each morning, and the earth rises too. World weary, we rise up, and we want something new. A world where compassion falls freely as rain. A world where all people can live without pain. Inclusive of all and rejecting of none. Where love touches all lives like the warmth of the sun. No abuse and no hatred, no prisons of fear. As the sound of the shofar celebrates the new year. If we open our hearts to the love waiting there, we can have the power to heal our despair. If we open our eyes and see all people are kin. Destruction will end and a new world begin. If we open our hearts, if we open our eyes, if we open our minds, a world without sorrow, a world without pain, a world where compassion falls freely as rain. A world where all people are united as one. If we open our hearts, if we open our minds, if we open our arms.
We seek peace, the most precious gift we can bestow upon ourselves. May we find the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. May our country strive to be a stronghold of peace and its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within its borders, health and happiness within its homes. May we strengthen the bonds of friendship among the inhabitants of all lands, and may we love of humanity permeate every home and every heart. May we labor for righteousness, and in so doing, author a new book of life, blessing, and peace, for we alone are the source of peace.
In this new year, we thought we would introduce a new setting of Naseh Shalom, which was written by Debbie Friedman.
Thank you. We've been trying to work the lyrics out to that version of Naaseh Shalom for a long time. So watch for it in rotation on Friday nights. In this community where we find strength and common purpose, we turn our minds and hearts now to all those who need our love and support, those who are ill, those who suffer pain of the body or spirit, those who are lonely, those who have been wronged. May all who suffer know that they are not alone, that we are there. May they be healed quickly. May they experience a complete recovery, refuah shlema, the renewal of their bodies and the renewal of their spirits.
Find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Shalom. Mikol hakoach v'tochenu, mikol rod ha'bracha, micherotenu, may those in need of healing, nor refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Shalom.
Wow, what a good crowd tonight. Shabbat Shalom. It's so wonderful to see you all. Is it? Okay, am I good? Okay. Where am I? Okay. The light of life is a finite flame. Like the holiday candles, life burns, it glows. It is radiant with warmth and beauty. But soon it fades. Its substance is consumed, and it is no more. In light we see. In light we are seen. The flames dance and our lives are full. But as night follows day, the candle of our life burns down and gutters. There is an end to the flames. We see no more and are no more seen. Yet we do not despair. With our lives we give life and love. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and death, of light and life.
Our thoughts turn to those who are no longer with us, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every people and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. We think now of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have taken into our hearts with our own. If you can do so comfortably, I invite you to rise as together we recite our humanistic interpretation of Kaddish. Nit gadal v'nit kadash beruach ha'adam. Let us dignify and ennoble all people in the spirit of our shared humanity. Let us acclaim the preciousness of life. Let us show gratitude for life by approaching it with reverence. Let us embrace the whole world, even as we wrestle with its parts. Let us each in our own way take up our share in serving the world and in seeking truth. May our commitment to life help us take healing spirit, peace of mind. May peace and justice permeate the house of Israel and all those who dwell on earth. And let us say, Ken Yehi, may it be so. Please be seated. I want to thank our incredible musicians. Joseph Palazzolo has become not only my colleague and really an inspiration in so many ways, but my friend. He did brand new, I'm sure, and I hope you noticed, brand new arrangements this year. Thank you for all that you've done for us. 1 year together. I hope it's many more, and you know I say that from the heart. I also want to thank our singers, Bonnie Brooks, Rod Reist, with us for the first time this year. Kate Rosen, thank you, Kate, as always, for joining us. Especially, I cry every time I hear The World Without Sorrow. And Henrik Carpathian on violin, and Lauren Matthews on cello. And Joseph, I think you have something to say about the two standing in front of us and yourself.
Yes, I do. So you can have a seat. Relax. So these, what great musicians, you think? I have known a lot of these people for really quite a while, Rod and Bonnie, and it's great to have you with us. And also, the string players are totally new this year, and new to me too. I met Henrik about a year ago, and he has a klezmer band. Hello. So he's very comfortable with this kind of music. And Lauren comes to us from Texas by way of the Aspen Music Festival, which she played in all this summer. She's won multiple awards. She has a wonderful career ahead of her, just starting it. They are both members, and she's a new member of the Detroit Opera Orchestra. Please give it up for our strings. Now, I'm not done. These wonderful string players and I will be presenting a concert October the 1st. It's coming up right away. It's going to be in the sanctuary, and we're going to do some trio literature, including Dvorak, Beethoven. Beethoven's own arrangement of a symphony, number 2. We're also doing some klezmer stuff, and Henrik comes from Armenia, and his mother also is going to be singing. His mother Svetlana is going to be singing some Armenian tunes, and it's something not to be missed. Tickets are available at the door. They're $25. October the 1st is a Sunday. 2 p.m., right? Right. Melanie? It's 3? 3 o'clock. No, it's 2. No, it's 2. Yeah, it has to be 2. It has to be 2, and I think it was 2 because he's got a gig right after that at the Jewish Community Center.
Check the newsletter for details.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So now Kate is going to sing our special music, tying in with Rabbi's sermon today.
Bows and flows of angel hair and ice cream castles in the air and feather canyons everywhere. I've looked at clouds that way, but now they only block the sun. They rain and snow on everyone. So many things I would have done, but clouds got in my way. I've looked at clouds from both sides now, from up and down, and still somehow it's cloud illusions I recall. I really don't know clouds at all. Moons and Junes and Ferris wheels, the dizzy dancing way you feel as every fairy tale comes real. I've looked at love that way, but now it's just another show. You leave 'em laughing when you go, and if you care, don't let them know. Don't give yourself away. I've looked at love from both sides now, from give and take, and still somehow it's love's illusion I recall. I really don't know love at all. Tears and fears and feeling proud to say I love you right out loud. Dreams and schemes and circus crowds, I've looked at life that way. But now old friends are acting strange. They shake their heads, they say I've changed. But something's lost and something's gained in living every day. I've looked at life from both sides now, from win and lose, and still somehow it's life's illusions I recall. I really don't know life at all.
We had the hardest time this year coming up with what tunes we were going to do for our introduction to these talks. None of them really fit completely, but Joseph suggested this one. We went around 300 other songs. We finally wound up back at Both Sides Now because it really is about trying to see things from different perspectives, different angles. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Maybe not clouds, but life and wisdom and experience. As we explore tonight two different values, two important values really, one of them being progress, advancement, and the other, wisdom, wisdom of the past, the words of the ancients. As humanists, we frequently ground our philosophy in an appreciation of the benefits we derive from the new, the innovative, progressive ways of looking at the world that frequently challenge the beliefs of the past, bringing advancement to our personal lives and to our societies. And we treasure this freedom from old thinking, from old prejudices, preconceptions, and preoccupations. We celebrate the gifts of evolution and progress. But we're here tonight because we're not just humanists. We're humanistic Jews, and we are heirs to an ancient tradition, one that, like all traditions, contains endlessly problematic barriers to progress, but also one that offers treasuries of wisdom to our people. Wisdom that Jews and ancient Israelites, like those of all civilizations and societies, have been collecting and cultivating and nurturing and elaborating upon for thousands of years. It is wisdom that sometimes offers very powerful and positive insights into the human condition. For us humanistic Jews, balancing these two sides can sometimes be a little bit tricky. Our humanistic philosophy esteems progress, reason and enlightenment, exploration, science. Those are our banners. This does not always sit well side by side with tradition, not with any tradition, including Jewish tradition. As humanistic Jews, though, we also seek to learn from insights of the past, particularly when they can provide us with wisdom that is, like the words of our readings and our songs this evening, inspiring, helpful in some way, applicable to our lived reality. As modern secular humanists, we extol the achievements of humanity that began with the scientific revolution. It inaugurated a new age for humanity. It offered the possibility of liberation from those who claimed supernatural authority, who exploited superstition and ignorance. Yet as committed Jews, heirs to an ancient tradition, we maintain a connection to our Jewish past. And we must admit that much of it was forged during thousands of years of supernaturalism, superstition, and ignorance. Yet despite its roots in antiquity, we continue to find inspiration in the sagacious guidance of the past, especially when that guidance transcends time and changing circumstances. This dual approach, this both sides now, that we take as humanists who are also deeply committed to our Jewish culture, raises important questions about what we truly value and how. It invites us to consider the contours and the boundaries of our relationship with both ancient wisdom and modern knowledge and progress. The challenge of balancing our humanism with our appreciation for the past is not some academic, philosophical, or esoteric issue. It's important to our identities as humanistic Jewish individuals and communities. We founded this movement because we felt a strong tie to, among other components of Judaism, what it's taught us over the years, its past. And we founded this movement because we wanted to find a way to celebrate those ties while living as fully secular and modern people. Modern people who seek to embrace a progressive, non-supernaturalist Judaism, unshackled from the claims of unfounded beliefs, those that guided our ancestors. And it leaves us with a challenge, one that boils down to this. What of our past, excuse me, what of our past still merits our attention? We know what it is we reject, but what do we embrace? Why be Jewish if there's nothing to learn from the many generations of Jews who preceded us? Why sing these songs and say these readings, the kinds that we say every Shabbat or on this holiday, when we might just as well stay home and watch an episode of Cosmos? Celebrations like this holiday serve as important touchstones of humanistic Jewish commitments and beliefs. One precept that guides our movement in celebrating is our insistence that the rituals that we select or create to honor our life cycles, our Shabbats, our holidays, especially those readings and songs, must always say what we mean and mean what we say. As the one who generally selects the readings and helps to set the agenda of our communal explorations of both humanism and Judaism, I try to be very sensitive to what I call this credo of consistency. This is why I constantly review the passages we read in our ceremonies. And just a few weeks ago, as I was putting together a Friday night service, I found myself reconsidering a couple of such passages. One of these was composed by an esteemed humanistic rabbi, a colleague and friend of mine. It's made its way into many of our services. You may recognize it. At one with our forebears, it says, "We affirm that righteousness and enlightenment shall be our torch." On this occasion, I found myself asking, is that true? Are we really at one with our forebears in affirming righteousness and enlightenment as our torch? Was their torch the same as our torch? Did they value what we value? Another passage, one that I adapted from a Reform prayer book, also sought my attention. It declared the sanctity of life, the value of truth, the primacy of justice endure in every age. Do they? Really? Well, such assumptions about the timelessness of certain values challenges us. It challenges us to more deeply explore both our commitments to humanist progress and our fondness for Jewish teachings from the past. For those humanists, not humanistic Jews per se, but others in the larger humanistic universe who value progress above all, modern values have little in common with those provided by religious tradition. Modern values are, they might claim, the result of humanity's philosophical and scientific progression from ignorance to knowledge, and there is truth in this. Tomorrow I'll be discussing the ethic of universal human dignity. Together we will explore the creation of a modern morality, forged entirely in the flames of progress, producing modern concepts like the inalienable right of all people, racial justice, gender and sexual equality, freedom of thought, expression, belief, and modern democracy itself. These are all new ideas, products of the ages of science and reason. Our ancestors did not raise the torch of gender equality, to name but one important difference. But did they not teach us tzedek, tzedek tirdof, justice, justice you shall pursue? These are words that inspired Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg of blessed memory so very much that she framed them prominently in her Supreme Court chambers. Admittedly, our ancestors did not understand the contours of justice as broadly as we do today, but it was not because they rejected the idea. They were among the many ancient people who first promulgated what was then an enlightened idea. They helped to invent it. Undoubtedly, if we were writing that verse for the very first time today, we might seek to be a little more clear. Perhaps to say, justice, justice, you shall pursue for everyone, everywhere. Maybe add, no matter what. But it's still the justice, justice part that would matter the most. Our past was not a value-free void. progressive secular values did not appear on the scene without precedent. It's not wrong to say that we are at one with our forebears when we affirm that righteousness and enlightenment shall be our torch. It's not wrong to declare the sanctity of life, the value of truth, and the primacy of justice, that they do endure in every age. Humanity's best values were hard-won. An early story in the Torah reminds us of this. Recall, if you will, the story of Adam and Eve, the first couple who defied God by eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. But that's not the story I want to talk about. In that tale, the knowledge of good and evil is propagated throughout humanity by Adam and Eve consuming a piece of fruit, as if a magical tree could confer upon them some kind of academic degree in moral philosophy. No, the story that I really want to talk about is the sequel to that one. We might call it Humanity's Moral Trek, The Next Generation, Episode 1, Adam and Eve's Sons, Murderous Cain who killed his brother Abel. The details of what led him to this vile act boil down to raw jealousy, but the lessons he learns from his perfidy are not conferred by a piece of fruit. Instead, he is called to account, forced to stand in the dock. The role of God, the character of God in this story, is not the authoritarian, fruit-forbidding parent of the Adam and Eve story. In this tale, God is playing the role of a judge in a kind of courtroom. Cain's guilt having been established, the judge pronounces his sentence. Cain shall walk the world bearing the mark of a murderer, displaying the real fruits of wanton disregard for human life, the mark of Cain. And with it, the shame and mortification, the ostracization that it communicates to all whom he meets, a reminder to others and to himself of some, at least, of the consequences of evil. Your brother's blood, says the judge, cries out from the ground. All who encounter Cain will acquire this wisdom from the ramifications of his evil. Life is sacred. Don't murder people. Hard-earned for him, born of the pain of experience. It is because of stories like these that we call the Torah and the other parts of the Hebrew Bible, or the New Testament of Christianity, or the Quran of Islam, or the Bhagavad Gita of Hinduism, or so many similar ancient books that have had such staying power, wisdom literature. They do indeed contain quite a lot of wisdom. Yes, of course they're superstitious. Yes, of course they view themselves bound to an authoritarian deity whose will must be obeyed. And of course they lack knowledge of the scientific reality of things, of the shape of the universe, of the true origins of humanity. But what the writers of these texts lacked in knowledge of the reality of things, they frequently made up for by offering profound insights into the human condition. They were, in many important ways, familiar with so many varieties of human foibles and frailties. They were well-schooled in human nature. The authors of these texts, the people who made up and spread these stories, were capable of deep understandings concerning morality and the nature of societal interactions, understandings derived from their very real experiences, their observations and contemplations about life and the human condition. Their lived experiences gave them the potential to apply this type of knowledge in meaningful, judicious, and insightful ways that can inform us today. Over time, they came to view wisdom, as we should, as one of the most significant of human acquired experiences and knowledge. Consider this tale about the wisest king in our Bible. For thousands of years, King Solomon's name has been synonymous with wisdom. The authors of the Bible considered this to be the key to his greatness. And one famous example, and I know you've all heard the story, so well known I probably don't repeat it need to repeat it, but I will. It's that case that was brought before him with the two new mothers who happened to share a home. One night, having accidentally suffered her own baby, a now bereft mother switched her dead one for the other, claiming to be its true mother. After incessantly arguing about it, the two mothers came before the judge, King Solomon. He devised a bizarre challenge for them, proposing to split the baby in half. When the one mother agreed to this, even as the true mother recoiled in horror, offering to give her living baby to the other, King Solomon's wise ruse was revealed. And as the Bible's book of 1 Kings records, when all Israel heard the verdict the king had given, they held him in awe, seeing that he had wisdom to administer justice. Now, King Solomon will subsequently engage in many acts that angered the Bible's authors. He's never portrayed as a perfect ruler, but it is for his prudence, his wisdom, that he's remembered. The greatest gems of wisdom in the Bible are ahistorically, I must add, attributed to him. Psalms that contain wisdom he didn't really write, but are attributed to him. Proverbs and many other texts. And Jews were not alone in extolling the critical significance of selecting rulers who took great care in the applications of justice. The story of Solomon and those mothers actually belongs to a widespread genre of folk tales that are known to scholars as wisdom stories. They've identified almost 24 parallel narratives in folklore around the world in which some wise judge, just like Solomon, announces some absurd or bizarrely warped procedure to get at the truth in the pursuit of justice. Such stories praise those leaders who, like King Solomon, demonstrate an ability to discern truth in complicated situations and to render just decisions. They hold up as positive examples the kinds of leaders who employ creativity when faced with otherwise insoluble disputes. Stories like this one are not about splitting babies in half. They're about illustrating ancient humanity's appreciation of emotional intelligence, not just rigid laws, of compassion and empathy, and other creative, innovative ways of pursuing truth in the name of justice. Though we are separated by at least 2,600 years from the author of King Solomon's myths, were those who wrote them less concerned about the pursuit of justice in their times than we are in ours? Recall where we began, with passages from our Humanistic Shabbat services declaring how at one with our forebears we affirm that righteousness and enlightenment shall be our torch, asserting that the sanctity of life, the value of truth, and the primacy of justice endure in every age. Stories like these validate those claims. But wait, I hear you saying. I hear you saying, wait, Jeff. Don't I frequently talk about the immorality of many biblical stories? What about those narratives about God ordering the murders of little children and their mothers? I tell that one all the time. Or the laudatory praises that the Bible heaps upon those who kill in God's name. Or of all the other problems in ancient literature, their attitudes towards women, about slavery. Or what about their endless prejudices towards people from different nations who simply worship different gods? Is this enduring righteousness? Well, perhaps not. Definitely not. At least not complete righteousness. Their flawed morality was a product of their day, a time in which they believed that their gods were the source of wisdom. This prevented them from ever becoming the universalists that we believe ourselves to be today. As I've already pointed out, universalistic progress would only come in the wakes of the scientific revolution, the age of reason, and the Enlightenment. But to say that wisdom, embodied by a love of righteousness and values like the sanctity of life, of truth, and the primacy of justice, simply did not exist, that would be wrong. and there would be no reason for us to be here tonight singing these songs, reciting these words. Their wisdom certainly did reflect the cultural and religious norms of their time, not ours. But yet, even if they did not share our aspirations for the broadest possible applications of what they had learned and experienced, we must be grateful that they set us upon the road to our ethical development. It is a wisdom journey that we are part of, that we continue to this day. It is a journey that was joined by and ultimately, yes, informed by that quest for more knowledge about the reality of things, as humanity increasingly separated itself from supernatural explanations. And this was a worldwide phenomenon. At different times and in varying degrees, we owe our thanks to the Greeks, the Egyptians, the Chinese, and Arab civilizations, and so many others that founded the studies of mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and more. Our knowledge base continued to grow thanks to great figures like Al-Battani and Galileo, Francis Bacon, René Descartes, as they formulated the methods of inquiry that we now call the scientific method. Newton came along with his equations about the laws of motion and gravity, and before too many years had passed, the new knowledge resulted in new practical applications. Practical applications that upended the world as it had existed since time immemorial. The revolutions they launched transformed so many lives for the better. The Age of Enlightenment spread new forms of government throughout the world. As monarchies fell, democracies frequently took their place. The periods of discovery, the Age of Discovery, created new opportunities for millions of people. The ages of industrialization and invention improved how we communicate, produce food, travel, and trade. Medicine, informed by the scientific method and the discoveries of Darwin and Mendel, led to longer, healthier lives. These changes to the human condition were so vast that they occupy countless libraries and museums and academic concerns. And wisdom? What of wisdom? In many ways, this was religion's failure. While in some parts it tried to answer the many new challenges posed by the new ways of living, most religious people and traditions, especially those from the Orthodox world, just as frequently began to go backwards, forming an outdated branch of morality. Far too many of the answers it offered to the challenges of modernity were reactionary, were rooted in superstition, more concerned about putting an end to the new changes than to applying the ancient wisdom in its best regards, what it taught about justice and compassion and righteousness, applying those to the new realities. Instead, they defended slavery and genocide, and later on waged regressive culture wars. We're in the middle of one right now that overshadowed the accomplishments of their past. The decline of religion today speaks to its impotence in addressing the modern challenges brought on by progress. We humanists may be progressives, but we too recognize that progress comes at a dear price. The age of exploration, well, that was also an age of conquest, of upending, of the taking of millions of lives. The age of enlightenment inspired the creation of democratic republics, to be sure, but it also made room for the authoritarians who wanted to challenge and overtake them and exploit them. The Industrial Revolution may have brought with it such marvels as we could never have imagined before, but it also ushered in population displacements previously unimaginable in size and scope. Overcrowding, abusive work conditions, wage inequities, the devaluation of labor, new public health challenges, monopolistic and exploitative forms of capitalism. Certainly, the march of medical science bequeathed longer lives as it reduced suffering and mortality for young and old alike, but it also yielded market-based preventions and treatments, drugs designed to be abused, and new challenges of how to care for those who, now sustained by medical science, came to lack any real quality of life. Today we revel in the spread of electric power and the vastness of our transportation networks, even as we suffer from their consequent degradation to our environment through deforestation and soil erosion, pollution, the loss of biodiversity, the depletion of so many natural resources, and now the horrors of climate change. Even our most recent technological metamorphosis, the digital revolution that granted the dreams of my 7-year-old self to carry around a tiny TV wherever I went, did not come with major downsides. The large list of mental health crises triggered by social media, the privacy and surveillance abuses, the displacement generated by gig economies. It spread misinformation and disinformation, encouraging greater and greater societal divisions. And in a return to the problems of the age of industrialization, demand for cheap electronics is leading, once again, to the problems of the exploitation of labor and to increased warfare. These are problems that demand wisdom, including wisdom inspired by the past. And this is where our two value systems must meet. Knowledge may inform progress and even guide us to better articulate ways to widen and make more universalistic our ethics and morals. That, by the way, is the whole topic of my talk tomorrow. But wisdom and this experience that we've had for 2,700 years cannot be left to the superstitious religious minorities in our world. We must take it up, and we must look to the lessons that were bequeathed to us in the past. The first truths, part of our Jewish and human legacy. And this, above all reason, is why I am a humanistic Jew, a dualist when it comes to valuing and building upon the best of traditional wisdom, even as I do praise and appreciate progress. I believe that humanistic Judaism honors the efforts of the past to nurture the wisdom journey, even as we embrace the progress that allows us to expand it. I believe that humanistic Jews combine the old and the new into the better. Justice, justice shall you pursue for all humankind everywhere. And we are joined by other values-based humanistic organizations, Ethical Culture, Unitarian Universalists, the American Humanist Association. Together with them, we humanistic Jews make every effort to view the world holistically, to see the progress generated by the advancements. They are a source of great good, and to look back on when our chief concerns were frequently how to make a better, more righteous, more just society. The wisdom of old may not have had an answer to all of our new problems, but societies who placed its quest at its center, that imagined a King Solomon and his wisdom as the apex of leadership, well, they were trying, and they were onto something. Did the Torah and other ancient wisdom traditions encourage us to discriminate against others? Yes. Were they ethnocentric, ignorant about the universe? Yes, yes, yes. But they also extolled the values of sharing our food with the hungry, of clothing the naked, of housing the homeless. They taught, believe it or not, they taught fairness in wages. They mandated welcoming strangers. They believed that treating other people as if they were, in treating other people as if they were their own loved ones. They taught us to honor the aged. Their wisdom journey was, of course, not perfect, and it was never complete. That's why, as humanists and humanistic Jews, it is our duty to continue the best of their work and legacy. Progress is a wonderful thing. As a gay man, I know I would have been stoned to death by some of the authors of the Torah, that it is knowledge of biology and psychology that allows me to live a life of dignity. But I also know that the quest for justice did not begin with the gay rights movement, or the civil rights movement, or the abolitionist movement, or the Enlightenment, or the scientific revolution. It started with ancient people, trying to do better and be better with what they had to work with. As I stand here together with you at this annual time of reflection, I invite us to remind ourselves that we possess the ages-old and contemporary experiences to adopt, adapt, and expand upon those values which truly endure. Humanity began this journey before the rise of science, and aware of both accomplishments and limits of the past, even as we embrace the march of knowledge and of progress, we must continue to recite and sing and rejoice in the words of our ancestors where they do ring true, and they do more frequently than many of us realize. Justice, justice you shall pursue. Love your neighbor as yourself. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Seek peace, pursue it. Stand up in the presence of the aged, show respect for the elderly. Only do justice and love kindness. All of these hard-earned lessons of our wisdom journey. When we proclaim them, when we revise them anew, when we universalize them even further with each new progressive step, then we are actually very really at one with the spirit of our forebears. We can say that righteousness and enlightenment were their torch and ours. And we can affirm that the sanctity of life, the value of truth, and the primacy of justice will surely endure in our age because we have the wisdom to make it so. Thank you. So we'll invite everybody back in. Tomorrow morning at 10:30, we'll be looking at universal human dignity, and the ethic of dignity, expanding upon a piece of wisdom from the past that did not get quite as universalized as it needed to, and which called upon the insights of humanism to take it all the way out of the ballpark. What's our closing song? Oh, wait, we have a closing reading. I take it back. We have a closing reading. I forgot, we don't do that on a Friday night. So, these are our hopes. Page 18. We begin this new year with hope in our hearts for, and let's read these together, a good and sweet new year, a year of joy and happiness, a year of love and understanding, a year of peace and friendship, a year of prosperity, a year of health, a year in which the hope in our hearts is made real by the deeds of our hands. L'Shana Tova, Happy New Year. What's our closing song?
Peace be with you.
Peace be with you. Number one.
Peace be with you wherever you go. Peace be with you whatever you do. Peace be with you till we meet again. Peace be with you, my friend. Love be with you wherever you go. Love be with you whatever you do. Love be with you till we meet again. Love be with you, my friend. Joy be with you wherever you go. Joy be with you whatever you do. Joy be with you till we meet again. Joy be with you, my friend. Shalom Aleichem, shalom, shalom. Shalom Aleichem, shalom, shalom. Shalom Aleichem, shalom, shalom. Shalom Aleichem, shalom.
Shabbat Shalom and L'Shana Tova.